pivot to Julianna Peña defeating Raquel Pennington. How did you guys score it? We'll start off with Nolan King. This was highly controversial in the sense that most of the world thought it was 2-2 going into round 5. And if you look at MMA decisions, everyone had it for Pennington.
Yeah, I had it scored 48-47 for Pennington. I was among that group. And to me, I think rounds 2-3 were very, I can confidently say that those were Peña rounds, and then 4-5, I could confidently say were Pennington rounds. So it really comes down to round 1. And on the initial watch, I haven't gone back and watched it yet, although stay tuned to MMA Junkie. We're going to be doing a little rewatch, Judges Gonna Judge segment that's going to be coming out today. But on initial watch, I thought Pennington won the first round. I thought Peña definitely won the second, the third with her grappling, with her control. And then also, the fourth and fifth I thought were pretty clear-cut Pennington rounds. Obviously, she dropped Peña in the fourth round. That was her first knockdown. Kind of crazy, right, in her UFC career. And then that fifth round, she was the one with the more of the gas tank. She wanted it more. She landed more. So I didn't agree with it. I'm not sure if I'd go as far as to call it a robbery, but it was whatever. Again, on that initial watch, I felt very confident that the scoring was very clear. It wasn't a lopsided fight. It wasn't a crazy beatdown where then the judges gave it to somebody else. It wasn't that. It was just the way that it was, that if you broke it down round by round, I felt very, very, very confident about the 2 through 5, and I felt pretty confident about that first round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the judges were consistent. 4 and 5 across the board were all for Pennington. 2 and 3 were all for Peña. It all went back to round 1. Goes, how did you score it, and what are your feelings since then? Have you rewatched it? Have you changed your opinion? Because there's talk about, Peña did score on the feet. She did score on the ground, but we all felt like Pennington had secured that round at the time.
Yeah, my feelings are very similar to Nolan's. I did go back and rewatch it. I watched round 1, and I did feel like Pennington won the round. And that the night of, you have to remember that a lot of us, some of us are doing play-by-play, some of us are calling the fights. So yeah, we can miss things here and there. But I felt like we all just were kind of all on the same page, right? When you look at MMA decisions, you see how lopsided it was. I think it was just clearly won the rounds for each fighter, right? Peña clearly won 2 and 3, and I thought Pennington won 4 and 5. I thought they did enough. It's just odd that we ended up this way. And if you look at Julianna Peña's body language, just everyone in the crowd, nobody was really expecting any of this. And it sucks because especially when you see how that division is panning out, all the different options and things that you can do, that is really going to screw things up moving forward. But in my opinion, I feel bad for Pennington. I feel like she won that fight.
Mike, let's go to you for your reaction on the fight, your score, and then pivot to what's next for Peña.
Yeah, I agree with both these guys as far as the rounds and all that stuff. I think Pennington won 3-2, so don't need to go much further into that. They nailed it. I thought this was a bad decision. When you're talking about, it being swayed by one round, as Nolan said, it's hard to call it like a robbery or anything like that, but I will go with a bad decision. And, both women certainly could have done more in there. I don't think Raquel Pennington really pounced on her opportunities when she had them to kind of maximize damage and maybe make a statement on things to allow this to slip through her fingers. So that's quite unfortunate. But if you're talking about like what's the best outcome for the women's bantamweight division, I guess this was it. I mean, you can say what you want about Julianna Peña's comments leading into this about Raquel Pennington being like a bad representation of the women's bantamweight division and not someone who's really gone out of her way to promote. I think there was some truth and fairness in those statements, even though people may not have liked the messenger. But here we are now. Julianna Pen is the champion. And as far as what's next, I think it's pretty damn clear. We saw what Kayla Harrison did earlier in the night. It was not the one-sided destruction that she was promising all of us it was going to be against Ketlen Vieira coming in, but she went through adversity. She showed some different elements of her game, and she won the fight pretty clearly, in my opinion. And now you set up Peña versus Harrison, which I think is the biggest fight you could possibly make with active fighters. Of course, Amanda Nunes notwithstanding. If she announces her unretirement, I think she walks straight into a title fight and a trilogy fight with Peña, and maybe she is sitting at home right now watching that fight and just licking her chops, knowing she could get a belt back, an absolutely massive payday, and shut up Julianna Peña once again. But if she doesn't do that, Harrison is a damn big fight too.
Yeah, and we were talking about this yesterday on Junkie Radio, Mike. I don't know if you agree, but Nunes is probably the bigger fight. Kayla is the rightful fight, but in the whole package, Kayla versus Nunes is the monster fight. If we could ever put all those pieces of the puzzle, would you not agree?
No, I'd agree for sure. And the biggest scenario would be, of course, Harrison holding the title when Nunes comes back to challenge for it. Like, that's what you want, ideal situation. But I understand why Peña's calling for that fight. I mean, in her mind, she didn't show up in the second fight, all that stuff. She has the win, maybe more confident in the matchup. And, you don't often get these trilogies in women's MMA. So I'm sure she just sees dollar signs and legacy. I mean, beating Amanda Nunes again, even though she's been retired for however long, would be more significant for her resume than Kayla Harrison, I think, in my opinion, right now. But yeah, it's all up to Amanda. If she wants to walk back into this thing, she takes all the power. But yeah, right now, I think Julianna and Kayla is going to be a noteworthy fight, even just for the shit talk they'll have between them leading in.
Like Chael Sonnen said, that was a really good troll job. That was a Heisman. I mean, like, who are you again? Like, I mean, just
missed opportunity though, for sure, because that's the type of stuff you play in all the promo videos and what leads into, a big fight in marketing and things like that. And the fact you have Peña sitting there with the belt around her waist and a split shot, and she didn't even acknowledge her, I think was not the best move.
I think Kayla should have been cage side, man. That way they could have maybe forced her way into the octagon or something. But anyhow, what's next for Pennington, Nolan? What would you do with her? She had her win streak, obviously. She won the title. Took her 9 months for the first title defense. Look, this was a bad decision, but no one's really clamoring for them to run it back either. So she'll probably have to take a fight. And who would you maybe put her against to try and get back to the title?
Yeah, it's kind of that's a tougher loss than most of them would be. Like, any championship loss would be tough, but it makes that decision sting even more, just because it's going to be she'd probably have to fight at least, I'm guessing, twice, right? If you look at this, I mean, if we're talking Amanda Nunes coming back too, like, if that becomes a reality, we're looking down the line for any sort of title redemption. And by that point, I mean, she's going to be 2 years older, a year older, whatever it is. So I don't know. I mean, there's the usual suspects at the top of the division. There's Ketlen Vieira, there's the Macy Chiassons. She's just going to have to fight. She's going to have to fight one or two more times. Right now, women's bantamweight is probably the most interesting that it's been in quite a while. And that's kind of unfortunate for Pennington, because she's somebody that I think has never really tried to be a personality. She's never, been somebody that I think people have necessarily really put on a pedestal when it comes to what do I look forward to on this fight card. She's done it through hard work. She's done it through earning it, through winning. And right now in the fight game, where there's, Kayla Harrison, Julianna Peña, and Amanda Nunes at the top, unfortunately for her, even if she lays claim to, being the should have been rightful winner of that last fight, I just don't think that she fits in the equation. We're talking two fights worth away. And maybe she'll sit out, maybe she'll wait if she gets another win, but it's kind of unfortunately out of the equation for now, I think.
Nolan, I'll stay with you, and we're a few minutes behind, so we'll run through this quick here to close out the UFC 307 segment. Harrison's performance, she dominated, but it didn't have that oomph like when she beat Holm, right? But what were your thoughts on that? And could she possibly be one of the UFC's next biggest stars? The same way we're talking about Pereira, could we be talking about Harrison because of that charm and charisma she has?
Yeah, I was trying to measure my expectations for Saturday, because Ketlen's obviously very good, and Kayla just, kind of handled her. It wasn't her most impressive performance. But I think I never felt like throughout the fight that she wasn't going to end up winning. But it kind of did make me, I don't know, maybe a little less excited about the Amanda Nunes fight if it ever does happen. Like, between that and between kind of having flashbacks, I think with the Larissa Pacheco fights that she had, I think PFL putting out that promo the other day where they talked about, Larissa beating Kayla. Like, to me, there's a lot of threats that Larissa showed Kayla in that fight that I think Amanda would also show her. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Was it kind of just an off night? Was it maybe, are the expectations that she's just going to come in and just throw everyone around and dominate like she did with Holly Holm? Do we have to temper those a little bit, but still recognize that she's very good for somebody that just has inserted herself into the equation? So I don't know. I think for me, it's the intrigue here. The Peña Harrison fight we'll have good trash. If that's next, I'll have good trash talk. We'll have good build, and I'll be interested to see it very much. But I feel pretty confident saying I would pick Kayla in that fight, and I also feel very confident, or pretty confident now, saying that I think Amanda would beat Kayla as well. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Again, it's fun that we're talking about this in a way that's not just, oh, this title fight's happening and nobody, we're not really excited for it. We're talking about this with interest, with intrigue, and with fights that people are going to have, that there's going to be a little buzz around. So women's bantamweight's fun right now, and I think Kayla Harrison is a massive part of putting, pretty much the key factor in breathing life back into the division.